Whoa, hey there, people. How's everyone doing on this fine day? I just caught a nice breeze. It's pretty hot here in the school bus. I've been doing a little bit of work cleaning up the school bus, fixing up my car, trying to get it running. It's been an interesting week, and this is because my wife's car was stolen out of the driveway yesterday at 4:43 in the morning. A guy and a gal just jumped in and drove off. So, it's just one of those life things. It's the second or third time this has happened out of our driveway, and the crime rates are just ridiculous. But you just cope with it. But anyhow, that's not the story I'm here to tell. Maybe I'll tell that later. Um, we're honing in on those people. I think we know who they are now. Yeah, I had something interesting happened to me the other day, which I don't know, kind of I mentioned it in a live cast I did. I was talking about Vietnam, and I wanted to talk a little bit about war and the war memorabilia and show you some of the things that I acquired the other day. So here's the story. My wife looks on the next door neighbor app and she checks to see what's going on, and she said, "Oh, somebody up the street, up on 7th Street, is giving away a bunch of his dad's stuff. His dad passed away. He says he's putting everything out in the yard, and you're free to just come by and take what you want." So I said, "I'm on it." My first thought was a guy's dad. He's got to be older. He probably has some cool stuff, and I'm sure there's something I'll be able to, dig out of the pile. So I got there, and it was mostly junk. I got an interesting painting and a few things. I did, there was some decent stuff there. But what really caught my eye were just some cardboard boxes full of random junk, tape, wires, picture hanging things. And then I looked a little closer, and I started finding war memorabilia. I got to talking with the guy, and yes, his father was he was in, I'm not sure if it was Korea or Vietnam, but at any rate, I want to go through some of the stuff that was out there because it all started with these, and the reason why this was, as I said, it was a weird coincidence. After I talked with him about war and how messed up war is, I told him about my father who had fought in Vietnam and my belief that his carcinoma was caused, at least in part, by exposure to Agent Orange, and he passed away on September 1st, 1991. It wasn't until I got home and was going through this stuff that I realized, wait a minute, it was like September 3rd or something. And I said, wow, usually I remember, you know, it had been in exactly 30 years since my father passed. And I thought, how strange on like the 30th anniversary that I would come across a bunch of Vietnam stuff. So, I took it as kind of a sign. And then later today, as my wife was cleaning out the buffet, she found this, which is the book that was basically, it's the sign-in book from my father's funeral, from his service rather, and it's got all of the people that came in here and all their names, and he was a pretty well-loved person. He worked for the postal service, but the memories we have of our parents and of those that we've lost that were in the service, it's unfortunate that they get so broken. It doesn't matter how long you're fighting. It doesn't matter how long you're overseas or fighting on American soil. Once you've been to war, you're broken. Once you've gone and fought and shot at other people and killed people, you are broken. You can't regain that innocence once it's lost. So some of the things that I got here, which I thought would be kind of fun to share. First off, these matches right here. Several packets of matches. And it says, these matches are designed especially for damp climates, but they will not light when wet or after long exposure, several weeks, to very damp air. And when I saw them, I thought, okay, those look like military issue. And sure enough, I came across one of these more modern ration packets, which actually has the same thing in there. Now, I'm not sure if this ration packet is military or not. It's just basic Taster's Choice coffee. It's got a couple pieces of gum, and it has those matches in there. However, I know that these do. Now, these are K rations, is what a lot of people would call them. I'm not sure the specific type of these, but this is an accessory packet of rations that soldiers would get. And this one it's accessory packet A. It has coffee, cream substitute, sugar, salt, chewing gum, matches, those matches, and paper, toilet. So yeah, toilet paper. And these are really cool, little accessory packets. They're just, memorabilia kind of things. But there's the other one that I found in the bottom was this one, which I left behind because I went back. It's peaches. That's it. It's just dried peaches. And you look at stuff like this and you think, God damn. On one hand, it's like, damn, those poor guys having to eat that crap. On another hand, if you crash in a remote village somewhere and that's all you've got, it might be better than the surrounding vegetation. So, as I dug a little deeper, it got more interesting, and I found this Legion coin, for example, so it was obvious. It was a thanking for your service. I found several P-38s. Now, P-38, I carry one of them on my own keychain that was from Vietnam. These look either newer issue or just weren't used. But a P-38 is a simple can opener like this. It just has a little shark tooth on there. Put it on the edge of the can and just go work your way along. They call it a P-38 because it punctures 38 times to open a can. Theoretically, if you can do it right. And these are great little can openers, and it was all military. Carried them with them. And then I found things like, military belt buckles and a couple of really interesting things, which were a voltmeter and an amp meter, which are both vacuum sealed. These are ruggedized. These are, I believe, designed for helicopters, okay? So I got a little deeper in there, and I started looking through more, and then I found these. You talk about steampunk, dude. So these are some original, military flight goggles, at least as far as I know, and they're totally uncomfortable and ridiculously made. I never understood why some of these things had such hard rims, but at any rate, I got to talking to the guy, and he said, yeah, his dad was a pilot, but he wasn't, I don't think he actually flew in the war, but he was a chopper pilot. I found his, chopper ID, and because I grabbed this bin full of just construction, like nails and screws and stuff. And in there, I found, oh, darn it, I didn't bring it out. Oh, well, I'm going to have to pause this and go get it. Okay, I found it. I went all the way back in the house and looked everywhere, and then I came back in here, gave up, and was sitting right here on the shelf. So, I found this just looked like a metal tube just sitting in the bottom of a bin, and I looked, of course, it's got a rim, so it's got a primer, and therefore it's a cartridge. I'm not a big gun guy, so I wasn't familiar with this particular bullet, and I call it a bullet. I should probably call it a shell. This is actually, if you look in the front, which you probably can't see very well, it has wax in there with the number 3 on it. My thought was that it was a blank for a large rifle or something, and I'm not familiar with this type. So I looked it up, and it's a 410 on the bottom, so it's actually a shotgun cartridge. So you have your 12 gauge, your 22 gauge. I'm not sure where the 410 fits in, but this is a full aluminum casing shotgun cartridge, which probably was from the 60s or 70s, and they used these in the military and in various places. But it's just so funny finding something small like this and thinking nothing of it. You shake it, and you're like, oh, this is a collectible. And I looked it up, and people sell them for several dollars a piece. It's pretty wild. But when I went back, I found this as well. And that just kind of set the stage. And it's not the biggest bullet. No, of course not. But it looks like an anti-aircraft round. It is a very large bullet. And when you look these up, you'll find very similar versions of more modern ones where the bullet tips out about this long and it'll say depleted uranium on it. And it really got me thinking about the crap that we spewed all over the land down there in Iraq and Iran, just anywhere in the Middle East where we can use these shells, and fuck war, okay? It's disgusting, and it's just an abomination. The idea that we have a war on terrorism has always been the most ludicrous thing. In fact, I was looking at statistics today, and I feel pretty confident that people are waking up to the fact that it's not our business. Even when Americans were asked if we should be spying on other people in other countries, a majority of Americans, twice as many as did even 20 years ago, don't even want us meddling in other individuals' affairs in other countries or even spying on other people. We realize it goes nowhere, but this is on a side note, of course. The whole idea is to create this image of a war on terror, that we're protecting our land and we're protecting it against all these evil, no good terrorists that just want to take us down, but we're creating this terrorism by shooting things like this at people and by dropping incendiary rounds and killing innocent civilians. It's disgusting. And in the end, that's why I have this, which is my death chain. My death chain is just memories of those who have been lost. And it started with my father's dog tags. Or Gregor A. RA189620003. I memorized that and I never forgot it. He's O positive, and it says LDS because when he was asked what religion he was, my dad said Latter-day Saints because his parents at that time had joined the Mormon church for some reason. My dad was never a Mormon. He was never religious, but he put that on there anyway. And so anyhow, I had 2 of these. I gave one to my brother. And I also have these 2 other tags on here, which say a prayer for peace. Now, my friend's dad made these when we were like 16. This is from Desert Storm in 91. It says a prayer for peace, Desert Storm, 1/15/91. And then I carry the cross on here. I'm not religious, but enough people use it to where it's a symbol. And down here I have a mess hall token from Vietnam, where people would, the soldiers would give it for their meals. I also have this little metal vial here, which contains the ashes of my niece who passed away from an overdose a few years ago. A year and a half ago. Not war related, but war related. The war of life, And the last 2 things I have are a couple of rings. They were each different grandfathers. This one was my mom's dad, and this one was my dad's dad. This is a World War II Army 106th Division. And this is a Freemasonry ring, Master Mason ring, with the top hat and the gavel and whatnot. So I keep this chain and I wear it in times when I want to remember those who have been lost. And that's maybe why I just made this video in general about war and about military stuff, is I collect it because it reminds me of something I never went through, but something that those close to me did. And remembering these things is important. It's unfortunate that war exists, that we as humans, not only can fight amongst each other and amongst ourselves, but that we have such weapons that we can lash out and reach so far beyond our capabilities we had even 100 years ago. World War I was just the beginning, and as artillery increased and improved, it failed to matter whether you're in the trenches or sitting behind a screen piloting a drone from 10,000 miles away. Thanks for listening. Talk to y'all next time. The veterans deserve better.